right now. You're not standing still. You're moving. About 230 kilometers per second. Around something you've never seen. Something that's moving too. This isn't science fiction. This is where you live. Most days feel still. You sit. You stand. You wait. Life feels like a series of pauses, as if nothing important is moving at all. But the universe doesn't pause with you. Right now, in this exact moment, you are moving at about 230 kilometers per second, fast enough to circle the Earth in roughly 3 minutes. Not around the Earth, not around the Sun, but around the center of the entire Milky Way. This motion didn't begin today, or yesterday, or even within human history. It began long before you were born, and it has carried every moment of your life with it. When something has been moving you your entire life without asking, the real question isn't where you're going. It's what you're moving around. For thousands of years, humans believed they understood the night sky. We named the stars, traced their patterns, and told stories about the shapes they formed. The Milky Way itself looked like nothing more than a faint ribbon of light stretched across the darkness. We assumed its center was simply a denser region, a place where stars gathered more tightly together. What we didn't realize was that between us and that center lay enormous clouds of gas and dust, thick enough to block visible light completely. No matter how carefully we looked, our eyes could never reach through that veil. The heart of our own galaxy wasn't empty. It was hidden, quietly erased by nature itself. When sight fails, science doesn't stop. It learns how to listen. The universe doesn't speak in one language. We just weren't listening carefully enough. When astronomers began to look beyond visible light, radio waves revealed a very different picture of the galactic center. Radio signals pass straight through dust that blinds our eyes. And there they found something strange. A source that was incredibly powerful, yet impossibly small. Bright, concentrated, and almost perfectly still against the background of the sky. It wasn't a star, because no star could stay that compact. It wasn't gas, because gas doesn't hold its shape like that. There was no clear outline, no surface, nothing you could point to and say, this is what it looks like. There was only influence. Only gravity. And that invisible source was given a name, Sagittarius A asterisk. You still couldn't see it. But now, you could watch what it was doing to everything else. Stars don't pretend. They don't exaggerate. They move exactly the way gravity tells them to. And near the center of the Milky Way, those movements began to look strange. Stars there weren't drifting slowly through space. They were racing along tight elliptical paths at extreme speeds, as if something invisible was gripping them far more tightly than anything we knew. Among them, one star became crucial. Astronomers called it S2. This single star completes a full orbit in just 16 years. An absurdly short time for something circling the heart of a galaxy. At its closest approach, S2 comes within about 17 light hours of the center and accelerates to 2 to 3% the speed of light. Fast enough to cross the distance from Earth to the Moon in under a minute. Movements like that don't happen by chance. Stars don't lie. They only obey what's pulling them. If this journey is changing the way you see the Milky Way, take a moment to subscribe. Not for notifications, but so you don't miss the next quiet question science hasn't answered yet. At some point, curiosity ends, and calculation takes over. Once the paths of those stars were measured precisely, the math became unavoidable. To force a star to move that fast, on an orbit that tight, requires an enormous amount of mass, not spread out, not diluted, but concentrated, roughly 4 million times the mass of the Sun, compressed into a region smaller than the orbit of Mercury. No cluster of stars could survive at that density without collapsing. No cloud of gas could remain stable under that kind of gravity. Every familiar explanation failed the numbers. And when the numbers refuse to bend, neither can the conclusion. When every alternative collapses, the universe leaves you with only one answer. This is where expectations quietly break. When most people hear the word supermassive black hole, they imagine violence, blazing light, and stars being torn apart night after night. But Sagittarius A times is nothing like that. It is not a quasar. It does not shine with overwhelming power. It is not constantly devouring stars. Most of the time, it is remarkably quiet, almost starved. A supermassive black hole with very little to feed on. A giant with its mouth closed, exerting immense gravity without spectacle, changing everything around it without announcing itself. And that silence created a deeper problem. How do you observe something that barely reacts and never waits for you? Seeing something for the first time doesn't always mean seeing it as it is. When the Event Horizon Telescope finally captured an image of Sagittarius A*, it wasn't the work of a single machine, but a planet-sized instrument stitched together from observatories across multiple continents. Their combined data produced an image just 52 micro-arcseconds wide, like trying to see a donut on the surface of the moon from Earth. It felt like a historic moment. Proof, at last. But that light had left the center of the galaxy 26,000 years ago. What we saw wasn't the present. It wasn't even recent. It was a memory, arriving long after the moment that created it had already passed. And that's when the story stopped being about space and became a story about time. There's something deeply uncomfortable about this realization. Sagittarius A times is about 26,000 light-years away, which means everything we see from it happened a very long time ago. Humanity itself has existed for only around 300,000 years. A brief flicker compared to that distance in time. We are not observing the present state of the universe. We are replaying its past. There is no way to see what Sagittarius A times is doing right now. Not because our technology is weak, but because time itself refuses to cooperate. Light has a limit. Information has a limit. And we are forever separated from the center of our galaxy by a gulf we cannot cross. So if we can never know what it's doing right now, what does that make it to us? If videos like this make you pause instead of scroll, this channel was made for you. Subscribe and stay curious, not about answers, but about the questions that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. It doesn't chase us. It doesn't threaten us. It doesn't even acknowledge us. Sagittarius A times doesn't hold the entire Milky Way together, but it rules its heart. Near the center, stars race through tight orbits, moving faster than anything we experience. Farther out, stars slow down, taking millions of years to complete a single turn. We are part of that pattern too, moving quietly along our own vast path, circling without noticing. Long after we are gone, long after our cities fade and our stories disappear. That motion will continue, unchanged, patient, and indifferent to who we were. You're orbiting it right now. You were orbiting it when you were born. You'll be orbiting it when you're gone. The silent center of home.